Hello, Freedomizers. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Zone 13, the best afternoon news show on the web. Today is Thursday, July 23rd, 2015, and it's 3 p.m. on the East Coast. That means it's noon Pacific. We're broadcasting live from the studios of FreedomizerRadio.com. I'm Joanne Moretti, and Scott Fararello, my great co-host, is with me, too. We appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much. Our chat rooms, both at Blog Talk Radio and right here at FreedomizerRadio.com, are open for you, too. Several of our colleagues, including AstroTurf, Lynn, and Famous Anna, are in the chats putting links and documents and other important information into there, so you have them right there for your own records. And thank you for that nice courtesy, ladies. Remember, they're also journalists, analysts, and researchers. They are the best in the business. Today, we have a ton of news and updates to get to, plus we have a very special guest calling in. We're going to be hosting for a few minutes an oath keeper who is keeping vigil at a recruiting station up here in Southwest Florida. So I wanted to let you know that first. We also have our regular news and things to talk about and some other investigative stuff we've been working on. Before we get to the show, though, I have to do a short disclaimer. And that's just to let anybody who's interested know that anything said on this show is solely my responsibility and not that of Freedomizer Radio or their sponsors. It goes like this. The comments made by hosts, guests, chat commentators, or phone callers of Zone 13 do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints, ideology, beliefs, or anything else of FreedomizerRadio.com, their sponsors, or their many valued advertisers, whether it be past, present, and even future broadcasts. All right, now that that's out of the way, let me open up Scott's microphone. We'll give him a proper hello, and then we'll get the show started. Hey, Scott, welcome.
Hey, Joanne, how you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, we have a friend of ours calling in today, Preacher. He's an oath keeper. He's a Vietnam vet. He's a street preacher. He has a really big ministry, too. He's got regular followers. He's also a biker and just a regular all-around great guy. And right now, he is keeping vigil at a recruiting station in Southwest Florida. So he's going to be calling in a few minutes to just give us an update of what's going on, what kind of experiences he's had and what type of reception he's had. So I just wanted to let everybody know he'll be here. Also today, that serviceman who was killed in Chattanooga, Skip Wells, his funeral is being held as we are speaking. And let me tell you, I've been watching the videos. There is got to be a 26-mile procession for this man. There has to be like 3,000 bikers who led the procession. And, of course, there's everybody just lining the sides of the highways, the overpasses. You got fire trucks with the cross ladders and, with the flag suspended. It's just they're giving this man a great send-off. So Godspeed, soldier. Anything you want to bring up before we begin the show while we wait for Preacher?
No, go ahead.
All right, well, let's talk about Iran for a second and John Kerry because him and Muniz are at a hearing right now, a Senate hearing. And, man, I just want to kick the TV. Kerry was asked, about the details of that IAEA side deal that's going on with Iran. He said he hadn't read it. He didn't know anything about it. Are you kidding me? Yeah, he doesn't know anything about it. Scott, they wanted a deal, any deal. It doesn't even matter what the details are. It's just a deal.
You got a
Iran
secret
is laughing at it.
You got a secret government operating without any oversight, without any regard to this country or citizens whatsoever. It's all globalist run. So they're given their marching orders, and they do it, and they'll tell you if they feel like it. And when they do tell you something, 90% of it's a lie anyway. So.
Yeah, really. Hey, our guest is here, so he's only got a limited time, so I'm going to open up his microphone, introduce him to everybody, and then we're going to let him talk for a few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like for you to welcome Preacher. Welcome, Preacher.
Jojo and you guys, it's such an honor to be with you guys.
Oh, no, the honor is ours. I was telling people before you got here how you are keeping vigil at a recruiting station in Southwest Florida. And I wanted to know, what type of a reception are you getting, first of all, from the servicemen, and second of all, from, anybody who might be passing by?
Yes, ma'am. I am still on site. I am at the Armed Forces Career Center here in Port Charlotte. It is such an honor for a Vietnam vet to be able to support our guys. And I was telling a fellow this morning, I said, I get to be the kind of man I never met. Because when I was in the service and I came out, this world hated me and my men. And I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen to these guys. What an honor to stand in the gap and protect the protectors. For an old man like me, that's a small price to pay. You're not going to kill 4 Marines and nothing happens.
Good for you. Good for you. No, sir, the honor is ours. What type of reception are you getting from the servicemen? I had seen that there was an edict from the Department of Defense going out and said that, you guys are not to be trusted and, to file reports if any of you show up and things like that. And, well, I trust you more than anybody. And I can understand, too, that I kind of checked out.
Yeah. DOD, part of their regulations, if somebody's hanging around the front of their place, I guess they were told not to talk to me. Well, that kind of backfired because I had already talked to them. I went to their offices and I told them who I was and what I was doing. I went to the nearby businesses. There's a Perkins on one side here and CC's, and there's the Elks Club down the road. I talked to all of those people to let them know that I'm not here to intimidate anybody. I just want to protect my guys.
That's an honorable mission, sir. Now, I understand that the DOD has told the servicemen to notify local police if, any of you guys showed up. Have you had contact with the police?
I've had contact twice. Both instances, it was very respectful. There wasn't, and of course I'm wearing a body camera too. So, but I can tell you this, Joanne. In my experiences and the businesses I've talked to here, they are really happy with the way the Sheriff's Department handles their security for their businesses.
Yeah, they got a good. The Sheriff's Department is really good guys too. So I have to say.
I had been hearing things as an oath keeper. What's his name? Sheriff Purnell.
Yes.
I forget the sheriff's name. Anyhow. As I understand right, he doesn't care for me or my kind. But in talking with these deputies and the interactions that I've had in the last 6 months here in Port Charlotte, he takes care of his men. And I have to respect that. He takes care of his men. The citizens aren't being abused here. The ones that are being abused, the ones that probably got it coming. But I've got to speak respect to them. If they're out of line, I'll be the first one to say so. But, I have a lot of respect for the sheriff's office and this sheriff just purely on their actions. We don't know each other. We haven't talked to each other. But, I've got to give the sheriff his strokes because, like I say, not just me. They've treated me with respect, but all of these businesses are happy with their security. I'll let you know at this stage, we're going to break off here in Port Charlotte. We're breaking off our security sometime tomorrow morning. Mostly because these guys are so well taken care of. They're secure. I've been watching them. We've been talking to each other. They're not a bit afraid. So, I'm not, there's really no reason for me to be here, and I just let them know this afternoon, but we will be going covert.
There you go.
And that means I'm not going to be sitting out front wearing my T-shirt and my cap like I have been. That was for a presence. I wanted them more than any statement I would make to Islam and all of their bull. I would rather make that statement to these kids. They're not alone.
Good for you.
And that to me means something. But the citizens, I got to tell you, I'll try and make this quick, Joy. Yesterday I was sitting in a chair outside of the Marine thing here, and a family got out of 2 cars. There were about 8 or 9 people. And as I stood up, they saw that I was an oath keeper. That whole family started clapping. From young to old, every one of them were clapping, and they had to come over and shake my hand and say thanks.
Good for them.
That's
Well,
the kind of
we all-
America I'm ready to die for.
There you go. I'm glad that you're there though, because a presence is absolutely necessary. Even if you're disarmed, just seeing you there is a
Oh, I'm a
deterrent.
dangerous person even if I don't.
Well, they don't know.
I'm a dangerous person even if I don't have a gun on me.
There you go. But they don't know how many people you have in your crew either. Now, what type of reception are you getting? I mean, is there a lot of pedestrians, giving you props and high fives and things?
I have people coming by here
while you're there.
They're actually stopping in the middle of the road to reach, and they held their hands out the window for me to step forward and shake their hands and tell me thank you. That's happened. If it's happened once, it's happened a couple of dozen times. And I've just, there's so much respect for our soldiers that I see here in Port Charlotte. I don't know about the rest of the world. I care about my guys right here.
That's all. Just everything is local. And, I wanted to tell you that all over the country, I am seeing photographs and reports about how citizens like you, retired veterans, are at every recruiting station. Now, Governor Rick Scott has moved a lot of the services over to the Armory. They got skeleton crews, and I know that when the recruits come in and they're supposed to be doing testing and things like that, they're transporting them to the Armories to continue the training there and all the requirements that they go through. So they're not even leaving the recruits on site. They're meeting there, and then they're taking them elsewhere to say.
Yeah, they have a bus that comes by and picks them up. There's a bus that comes by and picks them up. So
Rick Scott's all over that, too. I wanted to tell you something. I have an article here from Fox News. It says a chilling note was left on a service member's car in Georgia, and it warned that attacks will come full force and death is to come to you. The letter is written in all lowercase letters, and it was left on a car near Dobbins Air Reserve Base yesterday. It reads, Dear American soldier, death to you, coward women, child killer, and all the American military. Mohammed will show you no mercy. Attacks will come full force. Death to you. Military police are investigating the note and believe that it's the same letter posted to other military Facebook pages. So that seems like a concerted effort. So I wanted to tell you that, believe me, don't give up and don't think you're not serving an important service there, because absolutely you are, sir.
Well, I think I can probably speak for every Marine concerning what you just read.
Okay.
Bring it on. Just bring it on. Stop talking. We're ready. Yeah. That's the best thing I can tell them. I don't care. Come and get it. I have family to defend. I have a community that cares about me. That's one thing I've learned about being out here. I think I'm more blessed than anybody, because being a Vietnam vet, I'm not used to this kind of respect. It's just not. It's not part of my repertoire. I have an image to keep, darn it.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. We got nothing but respect for you, sir. We have nothing
it's an honor.
but respect for you. No, the honor is ours. I just want to say thank you. I saw that Stuart Rhodes from Oath Keepers had put out an all-call for guys like you to do exactly what you're doing, and it looks to me like that call was heeded. It's just everywhere.
Yeah.
And, I told everybody, I told people, go ahead.
Go ahead, hon.
Oh, I told people that you were an Oath Keeper as well, and that's a really good organization. I'm seeing that they're active in a lot of things. So I just wanted you to know that there's more people out there that are absolutely on your side. There's so many more that you wouldn't even know. Like I just said about that soldier's funeral. There is not one person in that whole watching that whole procession that isn't out of their cars and watching this procession. The whole route is lined, 26 miles, just back to back, shoulder to shoulder people with flags and everything. The soldiers standing salutes. There's people in, uniform and dress blues. And the bikers leading the procession, they had the huge Marine flags and the American flag attached to the motorcycles, side by side. It was a sea of red and yellow flags, along with the Old Glory. So
Yeah.
You know, I know you missed that, but I just wanted to tell you that people.
The only thing I could say to that, Joanne, is that I would like to extend that even a little bit further to our law enforcement.
Absolutely.
Our soldiers.
Absolutely.
The theory that Oath Keepers is working on.
Yes, they're Oath Keepers too. You there, Preacher? Oh, looks like we lost Preacher. His phone died out. Oh, there you are. I hear you.
Here I am.
Okay. Yeah, your phone died off a little bit. All right, Preacher, I don't want to keep you very much longer, and I know you're doing a detail over there, but do you have any parting words for our guests before you take off? And then I want to say thank you. Just thank you, and the honor is ours, sir.
As a Marine, speaking for every Marine, I love America more today than I did yesterday. I'm ready to die for her.
Choked up.
I'm ready to die for her. Let's get it on. Let's get it on.
Yeah.
You know, they want a piece of us. We're ready. All of us, civilians. You know, I protect your protectors wherever they are in your town, in your county. Protect them. They're going to need it. They're going to need it as bad as we do. Thanks, JoJo, for giving me the honor to be with you. I want America to know that she's still worth dying for.
Well, on that note, sir, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart and from, I'm sure, every member of our crew and everybody who's listening. We love you, sir. And you just
God bless you, JoJo.
Semper Fi.
God bless.
God bless you too. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Preacher. Scott, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm all choked up here. You know, when he choked up, I choked up. I don't even know what to say about that, but I'm just, you know, I'm glad that people out there like him.
The patriotic thing of a few Americans that he sees is the majority, but the mainstream media would have you believe, and everybody else believe, that people think like Jane Fonda, and I can assure you, Jane Fonda's point of view is a very, very small minority.
It certainly is. That was a good thing to say, too, because the majority of Americans, and you're seeing them rise up now, you're seeing every one of them starting to show themselves and saying enough. And, you know, that Preacher's a Nam vet. And when he came back, the Jane Fondas of the world were spitting on him.
Yeah, because of people like her. You know, and the mainstream media ghouls that everyone trusted at the time because, well, he sounds like Walter Cronkite, so he must be trustworthy. Well, you know what? He wasn't. He was a commie. He was a left-wing shill. That's all he was. And, you know, they turned the Vietnam vets into something they weren't, you know, calling them names and this and that. And the whole hippie movement was even created for that reason.
Yeah, and here's this man still willing to stick up and stand up, you know, even after suffering that type of abuse and humiliation from commies, straight up commies, from the Jane Fondas to the John Kerrys to all of them, you know, and those the Weather Underground, and these people like ISIS too. ISIS, who the hell do they think they are? You know, you killed 5 of our service members. Did you think they were just going to take it? That pulled them out of mothballs, man. You got a guy who's a Vietnam vet.
Well, you know, and the fact
you
that
know, I mean, he's got pulled out of mothballs.
Arm themselves, you know.
Right.
What does it say? That's our government doing that. You know, forcing armed services to not be armed. Does that make any sense to you? So the armed services, but they're disarmed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just unbelievable.
There's a comment in our chat room. It says, my brother still won't talk about his service in Nam, and it's been almost 50 years. I know. Just, you know, these soldiers never talk about it. Never talk about it. But on the other hand, you know, and here's a guy like Preacher, come out and got off his butt. He's walking the walk and talking the talk. He's out there, and he's shaking hands, and he's letting everybody know he's there. And he's not telling anybody else how many more there are of him, with him, around him, near him. So, you know, he told me yesterday that the police officer asked him, well, how many are in your crew? And he said, you know, I can't tell you that. I thought that was the greatest answer. No one's going to tell you how many of his colleagues are out there with him. But he is a commander of Oath Keepers, so he does have a group with him or behind him or whatever. I don't know. He won't answer those questions, and I wouldn't ask them anyhow. So I just wanted to say to Preacher and all of the wonderful Americans and veterans and everybody else who's out there keeping vigil, making sure that our service members are safe until they can provide their own safety. Thank you. That's it. That's not even strong enough word. Thank you. What more do you say? And I'm also blessed to actually personally know Preacher. All right, let's move on here. Let's go back to this Kerry thing for a minute, because he said he doesn't even know what's in the deal. And then, you know what else he said? He said nobody said dismantle Iran's nukes. They never talked about that. Well, in 2013, he himself said that, let's see here, let me give you the thing here. It says, during Thursday's Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing on the Iran nuclear agreement, Secretary of State John Kerry said the goal of the negotiations was never to dismantle Iran's entire nuclear program, but rather to prevent them from obtaining nuclear weapons, despite saying in 2013, and here's the quote, whole point of sanctions was to get Iran to dismantle its nuclear program. And it goes on, about when they began the negotiations, they had 12 bombs and 19,000 centrifuges, which was up from 163 that they had in 2003. And another thing he tried to do today was blame George Bush for all of this. They've been here 7 years. When's it not going to be George Bush's fault anymore? I mean, George who? How long ago was that?
A man that doesn't have his word doesn't have anything. If you're not a man of your word, you don't have anything. You're a liar. You're unreliable. These people are liars. They enjoy being liars. They joke about being liars. They're hypocrites. And you know what? It's easy to pass blame back to that jackass, because he wasn't much better. I mean, okay, he gave us the Department of Homeland Security. Look at the nightmare they've been. He gave us the TSA. He gave us the Patriot Act. Okay, blame him for something he really did.
Yeah.
But see, it's really easy to blame the last guy. Now, the new stooge that comes in 2016, if it happens, if what's his face ever leaves, which I doubt, he can just blame Obama for the next century.
Yeah. Well,
it's easy.
Look, the guy's been here 7 years. How long would you hold a job if you have failed this badly and kept blaming the person who worked there before you?
Well, you know what? They're not like us. And, how long would you hold a job if you lied about who you were? How long would you hold a job if you made 100 promises and you broke every one of them? How long would you hold a job if you sold out the company to the company's rival? I mean, and I could go on for 3 hours. But when there's no one to fire you, guess what? You're going to keep that job for as long as you want it. Right. And he can declare a national emergency. He can declare this or that. He can just say, you know what? I'm going to be dictator from now on. Congress, you got a problem with that? And John Boner's going to go, no, I don't have a problem with that. FDR did it. So-and-so did it. Why not?
Well, I got a problem with it. And I'll tell you what right now.
Most of us do. But you know what? I think they're going to. And you know what? You're going to hear the left-wing media, all of them, and half of Fox News all going, 4 more years.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something, though. You might be absolutely right, because if Hillary doesn't win that election, how likely is it that he'll hand over the reins to anybody but her?
There is no win. And you know what? They can't even fake her poll numbers. It's so bad that they can't even fake her unpopularity. It's so bad. And I told you that. I told you that was going to happen. I said even her own party can't stand her. They're putting their money on mad scientist, socialist Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
That's sad.
I was looking. I can't even believe this. and you know, you're right. I can't even fight with you over it because I don't know what's going to happen. What I do know is that back in 2007 and 2008, when Florida and Michigan started to move up their primaries, they were stripped of their votes. And, of course, you know, everybody sued, and it went through the court system and stuff. And the court finally came out and said, look, both of those parties, Republican and Democrat, and any other party, are private entities. The primaries are merely a suggestion. And they can run whoever they want, and they can change their rules whenever they want.
Yeah.
The only binding election is the general election. So, all right, say Donald Trump won 100% of the vote for the Republicans.
Yeah.
They can still strip him from being their candidate and put in whoever they want because your primary votes are merely a suggestion
which they're going
for
to
the parties. And the judge even said if you don't like the way these parties run their system, then start your own party, get another party.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which you can't do because the minute you try it, the other two dictatorships just, make sure you don't get any money. They put billions behind their loser, and, you're walking around shaking hands, knocking on doors. Well, that's not going to go very far.
Mhm. Yeah, so, all this theater that's going on and all this jockeying and whatever with these candidates, like I said, even Trump, and I'm only using Trump as an example. I'm using Trump as an example for a lot of things. I don't want people to think that's an endorsement, but what I'm doing is I'm watching and studying and seeing how this is all going. And we're going to get to that, too. Trump just landed in Laredo, Texas, by the way, so we'll get to that. But before we do, let's do a couple more things here. Obama's on his way to Kenya, and, they got all the signs out. What?
Going back home for a visit?
Actually, yeah, there's a big sign outside the American Embassy in
home.
Kenya. Welcome home. Welcome home. So, I mean,
That's
how much more blatant it got to be? If he's home, what's America?
Yeah, everybody knows it, except for the people at in MSNBC and the Supreme Court that pretends like they don't know it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it, and if you don't, you're living in a cave.
Yeah, well, they told him, don't come over here and start talking that gay stuff, though, because we'll send you packing. They literally said, we will tell him to pack up and go home. And they had a big rally out there, it was like 20,000 people that showed up to protest in front of the American Embassy last week. And they were saying about, his gay agenda and, we don't want that here and, respect our culture, respect our laws, and if you're going to come over here talking trash, don't come. Hey, did you hear about the big rally in New York yesterday? I'm sure very few people heard about it. I talked to a few people today, and I was asking them, what about the Stop Iran rally yesterday?
Deal. At least 10,000 people for Alan West, correct?
Yeah, Alan West was there, and he was talking. I got to tell you something. That was probably one of the best speeches I've ever heard in my life. He just went out there and spoke from his heart. Didn't even have a note or a teleprompter or anything, and he just went off. I got to tell you, I got a lot of respect for Alan West. Alan West, Sheriff Clark, Donald Trump. I'm absolutely loving his game. He's got the best game around, man. He's doing his campaigning as if he were on his show, The Apprentice. He's into the competition. And I got to tell you something else, too. I like type A personalities. They don't take crap. And every time one of them smacks him, he smacks him back harder. Like Lindsey Graham. He gave out his phone number, but Lindsey Graham called him a jackass. So these people are all crying about Trump responding to their attacks the way he responds.
Well, they pick a fight. They pick a fight when you punch back, then they cry to their mommy.
That's exactly what's happening. But I'm seeing his game now. If you read his book, you'd know what his plans are. However, he is doing it through process of elimination. He's a fierce competitor, and he didn't get to be where he is by being a pushover. So he's like I said, process of elimination. If you look at the way that The Apprentice is run, or any beauty pageant he does, these contestants, they eliminate the opposition, the other opponents, and that's what he's doing. He's eliminating every one of them. He's going to smack every one of them. Now, he knows that you have to get rid of the Republicans first if you want the nomination. So that's why he's going after Republicans, and I can't wait for his attacks on the Dems. You know, people are saying that, well, he donated money to Democrats. Well, yeah, do you think he would have ever gotten a building permit if he wasn't greasing all those politicians? He didn't build that system, but he certainly learned how to navigate through it, didn't he? You know, people are flipping out at him. Well, he used to be a Democrat. Yeah, well, Ronald Reagan used to be a Democrat, too. And then he said, I didn't leave the party left me. And it seems that's what we're watching here, too, with Trump. But, you know, Trump, I don't know. I don't think I'd be calling him names. And the reason he got mad at McCain was because McCain told him that the people that went to see Trump in Phoenix were all
wacky
crazy.
birds. We're
Yeah,
nuts
crazy.
because they believe in that damn Constitution. They're patriots. They're wacky birds.
Yeah, well, you know, that's disparaging. Why are you insulting American people
Because
who went to see another candidate? And the people that he had on his stage were the families of victims who were killed by illegals. So they're crazy? And then they're talking bad about the people who were victims?
Yeah, he's
Are
been
you kidding me? No wonder Donald Trump got mad. I'm mad.
You know, McCain and Kerry have been milking that war hero thing forever, and neither one of them were war heroes. You know.
Yeah, well, I figure, you know, they're military.
Okay, when your daddy's an admiral, guess what? You're going to get special treatment. I don't care what you are. You're going to get special treatment.
I'm not even going to go. I'm not even going to go to his war thing. That's been, you know, hashed out and whatever. But I'll stay far away from that. But, you know, he has a record in politics, and that's certainly up for debate.
Oh, it's horrible.
And he is a rhino. Yeah, he's
But you know
terrible.
what? As much as Alan West sounds great, his voting record is horrible. I mean, you know. I mean, I don't know if he's just naive or if he knows what's really going on or what, but his voting record
he's
sucks.
I'll tell you, he was naive maybe before, but not now. He is as sharp as it gets. And you know who else is even sharper? Is that Sheriff Clark. I've had the opportunity to speak with him a couple of times. I like him. Man, I got nothing but respect for that guy. But, you know, there's a woman who is running against McCain, and she's a state senator over there in Arizona, and she's got a great conservative record. Her name is Kelly Ward. Keep that in mind, because she's doing exactly what we recommended people do. He was going to run unopposed, and she just said, no, I'm jumping in. You know, that's what they do. We've talked about it, about how, you know, they know that this area is going to vote Democrat or this area is going to vote Republican, and it doesn't matter who they put up because they're going to get voted in anyhow. So they'll put any schmuck up there. But now Kelly Ward has jumped in, and the Republicans are furious at her. But she's doing it anyhow. And I suggest that in any community, even if you're in a Democrat or a Republican community, if you have a politician who's been there a while and is running unopposed, throw your hat in the ring. And, you know, you may win or you may not. But even if the same party wins, it'll still be a different member of that party, and then you got them off their balance. You know, they're new, just getting there. So they're not going to be entrenched yet.
Any longer. I can't.
I know that, but we got to try it this last time. And
I know.
Like I said,
we've been trying it this last time for the last 50 times. It's not working. All right.
What I want to see
totally compromised.
is I want to see Donald Trump win that nomination and watch them strip him. Watch them strip him.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what they do to railroad him right out of town, and you can see just how fair and balanced these so-called elections are. Okay?
Yeah.
Unless he's been given the okay from Henry Kissinger and the Council of Foreign Relations, it ain't happening. I don't care if it's Jesus, you know? It's not going to happen. It would take divine intervention because they have this down to a science. They've been doing it forever, And they know, hey, all we got to do is get our rhinos elected like John Boehner and Mitch McConnell, and it really doesn't matter if Eric Cantor stays or goes, because he doesn't make any decisions anyway.
Well, the reality is if these people have been here more than 2 terms, then they are responsible for the condition of this country right now. It was on their watch. When you got a guy like McConnell or Boehner or McCain or Harry Reid or Maxine Waters or Pelosi or Feinstein or any one of them, they've been their lifers. They've been there 10, 15, 20 years.
And they're millionaires.
You know?
They're multi-millionaires. They've increased their wealth by 10 to 20-fold. Where's the downside to that? You think these people have a conscience? Do you think they look in the mirror and don't like what they see? They're narcissists. They have no conscience. They have no empathy. They're a technical definition of a psychopath. And that's what we have. We have a country and a world run by psychopaths.
Mhm.
I wish we didn't.
You're right.
You know, it's going to take people like, you know, the Oath Keeper thing. That's good because at least it's getting exposure. It's showing the military that people care about them. And, you know, that sends a message. Yeah. But as far as writing your congressman or voting the bums out, I mean, it's not going to happen. And you could put the best wonderful guy as president and fill him up with Congress, and it's just going to slow down the inevitable. I mean, that Agenda 21 world government thing, you know, we posted earlier. It's dated for 2016. They're all ready to go. All they got to do is the final collapse of the economic system. And when everybody's starving to death, they'll be begging the UN to come, you know, quell down the violence and the riots, and any kind of money, anything to get food in the cupboard again, they will take.
Yeah, well, I want to see some candidates say, I think that we're going to have to suspend the UN practices and everything about them until we clean our own house. So we're not going to do any more UN deals. The UN does not have jurisdiction over the United States. We are a constitutional republic. Nothing supersedes the authority of our Constitution. These politicians do not have the authority to change even a single word
and look what
or
they've done.
edict.
They have.
Oh, yeah. But we've allowed it. We've allowed it. It's the people's fault in this.
And yet they have ignored it all. And no matter what anybody does, it doesn't matter because there is no one policing them or holding them accountable. If you're not, if the threat of being arrested and thrown in prison wasn't there for civilians to not rob banks, I bet a lot of people would be robbing banks.
Right.
You know, but when there's no punishment,
well, the rules are made to keep you in line, not them.
Mm-hmm. Right, and the police are there to protect them as well. Most of the police, they're there to they're there to serve and protect the mayor and the people that pay them, not you. All right.
Well, that's obvious. That's obvious when they went to Code Bravo, and they fortified all federal facilities. They didn't fortify malls and schools and other soft targets.
No, of course not, because that's where your kids go to school, and they didn't go, you know, the local supermarket or malls. No, they went and took care of their bosses first.
They didn't even secure the recruitment centers, because that's like a civilian interaction. But they secured the NSA and the Pentagon and the White House, and but they didn't secure our military, and it's guys like Preacher out there who are securing them. Not the government.
That's what it's going to take. And
that's exactly what it's going to take.
He's
doing exactly what.
Yeah. That's something the people can actually do. You're actually having an effect doing that.
Yes.
But this running around in circles, thinking that Nancy Pelosi is ever going to go anywhere. You know, this is what I mean about voter fraud. They would have you believe that 90% of the people in New York City are all liberals. But then there's 10,000 people rallying against this Iran deal and stuff. There are a lot of conservatives there. There's a lot of Republicans there. There's a lot of Republicans in California. But they, no matter what they do, no matter how they try to go vote and, switch to Democrat or Independent during the primaries and vote Democrat, it doesn't work because there's something else in there ensuring these same scumbags get back in. I mean, remember when McCain and all of them used to at least pretend to be conservative for a while up until the election? They don't even pretend anymore because they know they don't have to. They can be as vile and as left-wing as they want to be and laugh at people like Jeb Bush is doing right now, sounding like Hillary Clinton. And, how do we get around these pesky conservatives? Because he knows he doesn't need them.
We knew this about Romney. We knew he was going to be the nominee. Our crew was actually at the Tampa convention when they screwed Ron Paul out of his delegates. Romney was going to win anyhow, but they didn't even have to screw him out of his delegates.
I know.
But they did it to show who was in authority.
Yeah.
And that's what they'll do again. You damn well know that they want Jeb Bush. And, Jeb Bush was a good governor down here, but, aside from that, the party wants Jeb Bush. And I don't care if Marco Rubio or if Scott Walker or if Donald Trump got 100% of the vote. The party can do whatever it is they want.
Wow, that doesn't sound like much of a democracy voting process.
Well,
now, does it?
because the court ruled that those parties are private entities. And we always hear about a third party. But there's never a strong candidate. We always say we need a third party, and it never materializes. And then when they do get a strong party, they put up somebody like Roseanne Barr, which tells you they're not serious and that this was all a joke anyhow to split votes and to, put in whoever, whatever. You know how they play the game.
That's exactly what it is.
I'm thinking with Trump threatening a third party this time, let me tell you something. This guy's getting all kinds of love. I don't even like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is Donald Trump. We didn't just meet him. We know damn well who he is. All right? So it's not about endorsing him. It's about the system. It's about the game. If you like the game, you will see what's going on. If you're in the game, you'll see what's going on. This is a blood sport, and it's not for the weak of heart. And you see people all over the place, oh, we love Donald Trump, or oh, we hate Donald Trump. It doesn't matter how you feel about Donald Trump. Watch the game. That's the part that everybody's missing. They're all getting caught up in the emotions. Oh, I love Rubio, or I love Hillary, or I love whoever. It's not about them. What I'm talking about is the system, the game, what we are watching take place right in front of us. And people still aren't catching on. That's why I'm giving Trump the kudos, because I like that type A personality. I like somebody who's going to fight back. I like somebody who's not going to take any crap. And if they whack him, he whacks them back twice as hard, 10 times as hard.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how you win.
Did you happen to see that little clip where he was on CNN with Anderson, CIA Cooper? It was funny. I mean, he was sitting there trying to catch him in this and that, and he didn't know this Washington Post poll that just came out. Like he's got time to read every newspaper fake poll there is, about him. And he come right out and he goes, you know what, Anderson? Nobody trusts you. Nobody trusts the mainstream media. And I mean, this is what people want to hear because it's what everybody's thinking. It's what the heart of America is thinking, and that's why he's so popular. Because there's finally someone with some balls to actually say it like it is. And he's just making these milquetoast, wimpy GOP, PC losers look exactly what they are. They're nothing.
Well,
none of them.
Anderson Cooper has been busted multiple times for faking news, using green screen to run video, and he was saying he was live on scene when he wasn't. He was in New York at a studio. He's also Gloria Vanderbilt's son.
Yeah.
If anybody knows anything about Vanderbilt, they're elitist. They're one of the 9 families. They're one of the 9 globalist families.
When your mom's, bazillionaire.
And Jon Stewart's a Rothschild.
Yep. Yeah,
So who
he got on
who
there
are you
in
supposed to
his
believe in that
Trump
crew?
rant as well. He had his own
Yeah, well,
Trump
remember,
rant. And then he gets Obama
media.
on his show, softballs questions, and lets him just sit there and just blatantly lie about, oh yeah, Obama, he's helped the VA. It's much better now since he's been in charge. I mean,
I'm glad you
just
brought that
saying,
up too.
It's unbelievable.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because Trump set up a hotline for veterans who are waiting for care. It's ringing off the hook. I checked on it, and I was looking for details to see how many people. I couldn't find any actual numbers, but there's people saying that this hotline has been going 24/7 since he started it. There is just so many veterans calling and saying, look, I've been on a waiting list for 10 years. I still haven't seen a doctor. I went and paid cash to see a doctor. You should see some of the stories coming out about what's going on with that hotline. At least he did that. And today he's at the border, and the AFL-CIO is flipping out now. They don't want him at the border, and they're forbidding their members to even have any interaction whatsoever with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump went anyway. He said, forget it. I got to tell you something about these unions and Donald Trump. Like I said about them saying that, he was donating to the Democrats, too. And I told them, you don't get a permit. You don't get a permit anywhere, any city, from any politician unless they get greased. I mean, look at even Planned Parenthood. They got $500 million in taxpayer funding. But they donated 10% of it back to only Democrats. Okay? On the street, that's called kickbacks. And Donald Trump, he didn't make that system. But he learned to navigate it and learned how to make money and get around it. So, yes, it's an ugly thing. Trump did not build that system. As a matter of fact, this has been going on for so long. My father was a businessman, and he had to grease everybody for anything. He had a boss, so, he had to grease the Alcoholic Beverage Commission and the police chief and the mayor. And at Christmas time, they all showed up for their envelope and their bottle of Johnny Walker. That's the way of business. It's ugly.
I'll give him a pass
for
doing that in New York City, but I'm not going to give him a pass for helping get Pelosi and Reid reselected. I'm not going to give him a pass for inviting Bill and Hillary to his last wedding.
I wouldn't give anyone a pass. I wouldn't give anyone a pass. Donald Trump doesn't need any passes. But, welcome to the real world, honey. This is real world things,
Yeah,
I mean, it would be nice to live in a utopia.
Damn it!
It is.
This is real
and
world
it's widespread.
bribery. And if you're going to play in a system of crooks and bribery and underhanded deals, then damn it, you better play along. See?
That's right. You can't walk in there like Father Burke and expect everything to be roses and peaches here. This is the real world, and it is ugly. And
I get the feeling he's kind of like old, not David Rockefeller, the first one. What was the first one again? Nelson. They asked Nelson, he's the richest guy in the world, and they asked him, how much is enough? You're the richest guy in the world. How much is enough? He says, just a little more. The guy worships money, but at least he's causing a lot of crap. At least it's good political theater. So,
And I just told you why he's not going to be. He's not going to be the Republican nominee.
Of course
not.
But
he is coming out with some stuff that we absolutely should be paying attention to. The man is highlighting all kinds of things, including the corrupt system, greasing politicians. Okay? That's the way it is. And if you think it's just Trump, I'm telling you about just a regular businessman who owned a bar. He had to grease everybody, too. You don't play in their sandbox unless you play by their rules. And you can win, but you got to, they didn't build this system. And we've taken our eyes off of it. It's the American people. We should, this didn't just start in 2008 or 2010 or 1925. It's been going on since the beginning of time. And, I see all these millennials all freaking out about capitalism. And, capitalism is the greatest system that has ever come into being in the history of man.
If what happened, had it, alas,
Right, what happens is that
capitalism. It's so long.
Yeah, it got corrupted along the way. Greed and arrogance has corrupted it. But, it's people who are good of heart are not going to make it in that world. You have to get down and play dirty with them, or you're not going to succeed. You're not even going to open up a ice cream store, because that's what we have allowed to happen. It's infested.
I've worked for a couple
capitalism
of small
has taken,
businesses, and they didn't have to bribe anybody. They didn't
Sure they
have
did.
to do No, they didn't. I know it for a fact, Joanne. Not everybody has to bribe everybody. Not everybody is on the take.
No, not everybody is on the take. There are some.
Maybe in
you're
Washington,
right.
D.C. or New York, but
I'm talking about the big businesses.
Even Trump came out back in the day and said the most crooked politician he ever knew was Ed Koch. So people are saying that he's a Democrat and all this, but he hated Ed Koch way back when. So
yeah, and look at De Blasio. De Blasio tried to review all the contracts with Trump, and Trump said, good, and I'll sue you, and the New York people the taxpayers will be paying for this long after you're gone. You're really sure you want to do that to them? So he didn't. But now de Blasio has come out, well, we're not going to do any future business with Donald Trump. Don't you think that's an abuse of power? Don't you think that is the government taking out their wrath on a private citizen? That is serious abuse of power right there. And another thing about that, if they run Trump out of New York, all those jobs, union jobs, because it's a forced union state, are going with him. I'll tell you what, Donald Trump gets booted out of New York, we'll take him down here in Florida in a right-to-work state. And believe me, there's a lot of construction workers down here who wouldn't think twice about taking a job. There's a lot of people out of work. And these unions, when Trump walks, so does all those union dues, because those union jobs aren't going to be there. If Trump, maybe New York better think about who is more valuable to New York, de Blasio, who has screwed everything up, or Trump, who has taken that crap hole and helped to rebuild it. During the Giuliani time, Trump was big, and he took vacant lots and filthy dirt and put beautiful things there and hired all kinds of people in New York, and still does. And he runs businesses out of there, even a necktie business and a Serta mattress and everything else. Those all go with him, too. So all those jobs, Trump is probably the number one employer in New York. So before New York boots him, they might want to think where they're going to work tomorrow.
The goal is to bankrupt the country. It's the Cloward and Piven strategy. It's to bankrupt the country as fast as they can. And so they don't care about kicking out businesses. They don't care about railroading gun stores, so they relocate to Texas. None of it. Has any of these people cared so far? No, they haven't.
No. Well, that's the goal. See, that's, why would these people try to, why would they hire somebody like Romney or even Trump? They would fix the system. And fixing the system is not their goal.
Right.
Collapsing the system is the goal.
Exactly.
And you're right. You're right.
Yep.
So they don't want a businessman to fix it because they don't want it fixed. They spent decades breaking it.
Right.
Nudge.
And see, the one thing about
Cloward
Trump
Piven.
is he knows how easy it would actually be to fix it. And it would be so easy to fix everything. I mean, you could
that's what he said.
You could probably fix it all in 4 years. But
yeah.
They don't want to. They have to collapse it. They got to make everybody poor and starving to death because you're easier to manipulate and you gotta ask
yourself. You got to ask yourself, why would they intentionally put imposing taxes on businesses to keep them from building in the United States? Mexico's offering a 12% corporate tax rate, and so is Canada. But ours is 39%. So just go over the border and do business with Canada or Mexico.
And that's exactly what they do. And
they
they
got
know
employees
it.
too.
It doesn't take a genius to know. You tax what you want less of, and you put less taxes on things you want more of. It's very, very simple, and it's been working for ever. They know
Look
this.
at China. Look at
So
China.
Let's get rid of American
they're floating.
Well, how do we do
they're
that?
floating at 10%.
Well,
So you got a choice. You can build your company with a 10% corporate tax rate, or you could build your company with a 39% corporate tax rate and $15 minimum wage and force unionization, and of course you got to grease the politicians. Why would a business even try to open up in the United States? Do you know 300 of the country's richest people have moved their money out of this country? Because even our banking system is now threatening to take pensions and haircuts. They call it a haircut. What it is legalized theft. 40%. They want to take 40% of your bank account and your pension to what? Bail out a system? We borrow money from China, and then we give money to China for their EPA programs, for their environmental programs.
It's to pretend to bail out the system so they can just keep on having to reissue you loans like they do in Greece until it gets to a point where they say, well, now you're going to have to give up your sovereignty. Sorry. And by the way, Johnny Depp and Warren Buffett just bought Hawaii.
Yeah. He's
Congratulations.
Right. Johnny Depp and Warren Buffett both bought Greek islands last week. He's right. And that's what we're giving up our sovereignty anyhow. China owns part of the Nevada desert now with their solar places, and the Saudis own most of our ports. And if it's not the Saudis, it's the Chinese for the rest of them. National parks, all these land grabs. The people of the United States gave or sold land to the federal government for protection. Instead, they have turned around now and parceled it out and sold it out to foreign entities. So all that land that was supposed to be there for environmental protection, that's a BS story. They have sold us out. And what happens when we don't pay the VIG? Do they come and just take over sections and say, okay, Nevada is now part of China?
Yep.
And put a fence up around it?
Obama,
and don't cross our border, you'll be shot?
In one day, he federalized, nationalized 1 million acres. And nobody said anything.
Yeah, allegedly for protection. And then, 4 years down the road, people will say, well, we gave it to you to protect it, not to sell it. We would have sold it to the Chinese ourselves if we wanted them to have it. But that's not how it is. They seized the land. Now they've seized every ounce of water, whether it be in a puddle in your yard or your drain pipe or a pond or whatever. Now, along with seizing that water, they have seized the property it falls on, too. So even property owners don't own their property anymore. Imagine that.
Yeah, well, they never did. Because when you're paying property tax on stuff, you don't own it either. I mean, you think you do, but you're renting it because you're paying property tax on it. See what happens if you don't pay that property tax anymore. Well, I paid off my home loan 40 years ago. Yeah, but you know what? You didn't pay that $800 property tax. It's ours now, folks.
Yeah.
And that's how they do it.
And they do it. That's how they do it. They just did it in Florida to a woman. She couldn't pay the taxes. She couldn't even pay her electric and all of that stuff. They had screwed with her income, and then they moved her off her property because she was living on solar and rainwater. So they seized her property, even though it was all paid off.
Yeah.
Hey, this thing about immigrants now, all right? First, you don't have to be an American, and you can have all kinds of benefits. Now you don't even have to swear an oath.
Protect the country. No, why? Why should you? Guterres probably think that's racist.
Yeah, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services on Tuesday said it will no longer require incoming U.S. citizens to pledge that they will bear arms on behalf of the United States or perform non-combatant service to the armed forces as part of the naturalization process. So if you've got an 18-year-old illegal, he doesn't even have to sign up for the military, but your kid does. Your kid has to sign up for the draft on its 18th birthday, but not these people. And they don't have to swear allegiance to the country, and they don't even, why bother even having an oath? And then Obama says that, well, I think that we should protect the illegal aliens based on accrual of unlawful presence. So, if you're here for a long time, it's like time served and good time. And the longer you've been here, the more likely you are to get a legal status. So as long as you dodge the cops, you're all set. And even you don't even have to dodge the cops. You got people being picked up and deported 5, 6, 7 times. They just had another illegal up in Massachusetts. There's 2 of them. They were living in this multifamily building. They were shooting guns inside their apartment. A bullet went through the floor and killed an American citizen who lived on the floor below them. She was in her bed sleeping. She was a grandmother and a nurse. These people had been deported and were up for deportation again because they had been busted again. They shouldn't have even been in the country, but now this woman is dead. So, the next time you see these victims' families, you might see that one from Massachusetts too. But in the meantime, you tell me that you've been here. You're getting accrual of unlawful presence. So at least they had the decency to use the word unlawful. Now, you've been here 20 years and you found everything except an immigration office, and now we're going to reward you? What the hell have you been doing for 20 years that you couldn't find an immigration office? You found the schools, you found the residents, you found the jobs, you found everything.
I don't get it. Why would they want to find one? What do you get for it? You get a prize? Because, I wouldn't find one either if I got everything for free and I got absolutely nothing to find one. What, for principle? You think these people have any principles? If they did, they wouldn't have broken into the country to begin with.
Yeah, and remember, we gave them all that money for the fence several times because they kept doing continuous resolutions, those, instead of putting up a budget and voting on it, they decided to do continuing resolutions. So that just re-upped the budget that they did the year before. So we gave them about $700 million for this fence 3 times. Now, part of that money was $360 million for drones. Yeah, for drones, too. Well, these drones, they failed. It says drones used by the Department of Homeland Security to guard the U.S. border for nearly a decade are ineffective, even though the agency has blown hundreds of millions on the failed program and wants Congress to keep funding it. So now they're telling you to your face, we spent $360 million on these drones. The drones failed. So we're going to need another $443 million.
Yeah, it's their money laundering operation. Quit messing with it.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. We're complaining about friggin' Trump greasing politicians. In the meantime, they're laundering money. It's up the wazoo. All right. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we got a few other things that we're going to have to bring up. So this will be a short break. We'll be right back.
My name is Dr. Eric Norman. I have studied vitamin B12 deficiency for over 35 years. I have developed the urinary MMA test to detect tissue B12 deficiency early, allowing treatment and prevention of permanent disability. B12 deficiency can cause anemia, but also neurologic problems such as spinal cord degeneration, paranoia, and dementia. B12 is found only in animal sources, so vegetarians become deficient. As people age, they may not produce enough stomach acid or intrinsic factor protein for absorption of B12 and become deficient. Up to 10% of seniors may have a normal serum B12 level, but a tissue B12 deficiency causing a 3 times greater risk for heart attack, stroke, or Alzheimer's. For more information, visit B12.com.
You know the Constitution like the back of your hand. You've read books, listened to podcasts, attended lectures, surfed websites, and watched videos. You've made liberty your life's goal, but something seems to be missing. Stickers from LibertyStickers.com. Exercise your freedom of speech with the world's most dangerous bumper stickers. That's LibertyStickers.com. But wait, There's more. You can buy Liberty stickers wholesale. Get them for 99 cents each when you put 100 or more in your shopping cart in any combination. Sell them or give them away. They're great for gun shows, flea markets, fairs, outreach, and more. Earn extra money, promote freedom, and spread the word. Need custom stickers, labels, or decals for your organization or business? Liberty Stickers makes them. Go to libertystickers.com to order or call 877-873-9626. libertystickers.com, the world's most dangerous stickers.
To the virtual roundtable every Wednesday at 6:30 to 8 Central Time, 7:30 to 9 Eastern Time. Let's help be the resistance and end the globalism.
Hey, Freedomists, join me, Proof Negative, weeknights, 9 p.m. to midnight Eastern, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific, as we fight the New World Order together. Right here on Freedomizer Radio, your exclusive home of the Proof Negative Show.
You are listening to Freedomizer Radio, where Freedomizers freedomize freedom.
All right, everybody, we're back. Thank you all for sticking around. We appreciate it. I hope you're all rehydrated and ready for a little bit more news. Scott, anything you want to bring up before we begin?
No, go ahead. Nah.
Okay. Well, I got to tell you something. There is this guy. He's a former Carter staffer, and his name is Roland Windsor Vincent. In a recent blog post on his Army of the Revolution, he said, I mentioned Republican conservatives, but the enemy is all in the human race who do not care. In my view, the animals need a massive depopulation of the human race. It may come in revolution, in climate disasters, in pandemics, but it must come. Says the earth cannot survive the human race, which for all practical purposes is a parasitic life form which annihilates other species, pollutes the air and oceans. He said if it were up to him, he'd start by eliminating Republicans. He's contributed to the Greenville Post, and in a recent article he wrote that he calls for repealing the Second Amendment, which also claims that he enjoys skeet shooting, by the way. Says the Founding Fathers inserted the Second Amendment into the Bill of Rights to assure the ability of the people to resist government tyranny. They were all too familiar with the British monarchy's oppression. But he says to apply the 18th century standard today, the people would have access to nuclear weapons, bombers, and missiles because the Second Amendment says that, we have the right to have equal firepower as the military. So this guy tries to pull out the old muskets where all the government had to use against the people, which is a lie, too, because they had cannons and all kinds of stuff. But he says, okay, muskets. So if we all have muskets, it's okay with him. In the meantime, everybody around him, including Iran, has nukes, right? But we're gonna be limited to muskets. All right, so then he says, he thinks that we should start with revolution and we should start shooting Republicans. And nobody's saying a word to him. This guy was a Carter staffer. And then he wrote on Michael Moore's page that he recalled the days before he was Carter's deputy campaign manager, and he worked on ballot initiative campaign to limit property taxes. Well, he decided that property taxes probably should go up, not down. He's changed his mind on that, too. So here you got a guy who is a Democrat, worked for a Democrat president, and he's talking about killing, shooting, eliminating Republicans first, whether he has to do it with guns or climate change or even revolution. He's using the word revolution. And he wants you dead. And he wants your kids dead, and he thinks you're a parasite. He's going to leave the Democrats alone, I guess.
He's going to get nothing but worse because there's nobody that will stop these people. And back in the day, they used to tar and feather you for saying what they are saying on MSNBC about abortion, aborted body parts being sold. They're laughing about it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're laughing about it. Oh, this is really profitable. I might be able to buy me a Lamborghini with the money I'm making off of this stuff.
Yeah. There's a woman from Planned Parenthood. Her name is Abby Johnson, and she used to work for them, but she had an epiphany. She said that this body harvesting has been going on a long time. But now, I mean, they're like postponing women's abortions and making them go later and later and later because it is such a lucrative business. And then, can you imagine the woman on that tape saying, well, I want a Lamborghini? Now, I guess a Lamborghini does cost an arm and a leg, doesn't it?
Yeah, and ill-gotten gain doesn't mean anything to these people. They're demons. They have no
she goes
soul.
on talking about how they crush the baby's skull, and to avoid the baby breathing and being a live birth, they turn the baby around so it comes out bottom first instead of head first. Because if the head came out first, then it would probably take a breath, and it would probably scream when they're crushing its skull or taking its organs out. They leave the head inside the mother, so they can not only say it wasn't born yet, but also the mother can't hear the baby screaming while they're harvesting the baby's organs without anesthetic. These babies can feel that stuff, And let me tell you something. This Planned Parenthood, we've talked about it before. Margaret Sanger, the founder, she is the founder of the Negro Project. She didn't want people to know that exterminating the black race was the goal of Planned Parenthood. And then you got people like Pelosi and Hillary praising her and her vision. They're telling you to your face they want to get rid of blacks, minorities, and poor babies. People they don't want too many of, according to Justice Ginsburg, who also told you to your face. So anybody who is defending this Planned Parenthood macabre organization is worse than a racist. They're enabling genocide. It's not like, people didn't know it before, but they know it now. And anybody who sticks up for them is worse than a racist. And let me tell you something. It's, and all you black people out there listening, it's mostly little black babies that they're tearing apart and selling their organs. The mothers aren't making a nickel off of it. Planned Parenthood gets donations from private donors. I got a whole list of them, too. People like Adobe and American Cancer Society, Bank of America, Clorox, Coca-Cola, Converse. Warren
Gates
Buffett.
Foundation.
Fannie Mae,
really
Groupon, Johnson & Johnson, Macy's, Microsoft, Morgan Stanley, Nike, Pepsi, Pfizer, even Progressive Insurance, Tostitos, United Way, Verizon, Wells Fargo.
Johnson & Johnson that sells baby products. See how they
baby
don't even
powder.
care about the bottom line? I mean, they don't even care about the bottom line. Oh, so what if we kill off a few customers? It's for the eugenics, plan.
Yeah.
It's all about
but I'll tell you,
control, population reduction.
Those babies, you don't see Bill Gates, who has 3 children.
Well, they don't
aborting his babies,
children,
right?
They mean yours.
Or Cass Sunstein and Samantha Power, they got a couple of kids. They didn't abort their babies.
Of course.
But it's, all you black people out there, it's little black babies' organs that they're harvesting, mostly. Do you know in New York, more babies were aborted in 2013 than were allowed to be born, by like 12,000.
Yeah, I don't see how Sharpton,
think about that.
Talking about Black Lives Matter when it comes to unborn children, does it? No,
all right, let's talk about Black Lives Mattering. Black lives don't matter. If Black Lives Matter, it wouldn't be little black babies over there getting their parts ripped out while they can feel it. Okay? And, you got these people like the new Black Panthers who said, okay, the revolution is on, and what's his name there? Shabazz. Last weekend, he said that we got to start the revolution. We got to start killing white people. And we had this woman that was screaming the same thing, going to kill all the white people. Where are your numbers? All right? If the abortion clinic that's on every corner didn't get your babies, in your cities, you're all killing each other between the black-on-black crime and the abortionists. You don't have too many black people left. You better shut up, lady. If Black Lives mattered, if Black Lives mattered,
you can do that. You can call for the mass murder of an entire race of people. You can have programs on MTV about
and get
how
government
horrible
money.
white people are, and they're all getting government funded. Why? They got to demonize white people, demonize Christians, because they're coming for you. And they don't plan to put you in internment camps. They're going to kill you. The internment camps are just for the, people of other races that are going along with the program.
These Black Lives Matter people and the Shabazz of the world and the Al Sharptons who's running around bothering people again, too. Where are they going to get this black army? They killed, there's a half a generation missing already. In Chicago last night, I counted 9 shootings in an hour. In Baltimore, there were 6 in an hour. I don't know if everybody's dead or not, but if they're not, they will be in the next shooting. All right? They push them all into the cities, and then they kill them off. And there's an abortion clinic on every corner in the minority areas. Do you think that's an accident? And then you got this Black Lives Matter activist who jumped up on stage and was giving O'Malley, the Rain Man tax man there, a bunch of trouble because he said all lives matter.
Yeah, and
they got mad at him.
Yeah, the first thing he says that doesn't suck, and they boo him, and then he apologizes for it. I mean, that's a true liberal. You finally say something
Why
that
would
doesn't
you apologize?
suck, and then you apologize for it.
Why would you apologize for saying all lives matter? All lives matter. That just
he doesn't want to be
called. Of course
it
matters.
He doesn't want to be called a racist. He's supposed to be
we had a brand new baby. We had a brand new baby in my family.
Hating white guy.
And his life matters. And it certainly matters to me.
To you.
Anyhow, this Black Lives Matter chick that jumped up on the stage, right? Turns out she's a felon.
No.
Listen to this. Yep, this is from Breitbart, as said by the Phoenix New Times report. While working as the business manager for the Arizona Citizens for Arts, Arizona Action for the Arts in 2007 and 2008, a job that this woman included in her online resume, also issued checks to herself, made unauthorized withdrawals, and made personal charges on the organization's credit card. The theft occurred over the course of a year and totaled $11,000. She had walked off the job in May 2008 without explanation after being counseled about absence and performance-related issues. Well, she was 27 at the time, and she confessed to the court officials that she used the money to pay rent, make car payments, and stabilize her financial situation. And now she's a big shot for Black Lives Matter, and she gets a Soros check. And she was up on stage, and she said, well, if somebody was going to do it, it might as well be me. Now, also, over the weekend, last weekend, there was a Confederate flag rally in Birmingham, Alabama. There was a woman there. Her name is Arlene Barnum. As a matter of fact, over at Twitter, she's Arlene Army, and I know most of the people that follow me follow her, too. Well, Joe Newby put this story out. This woman had burnt her NAACP card because she said that they're nothing but a bunch of racists, and she doesn't subscribe to that. She had a man with her, and his name was Anthony Hervey, and he was another speaker too at the rally, and he's one of the Black Confederates. Well, as they were leaving the rally, some of these Black Lives Matter people had surrounded the car with their car, and they were screaming out the window and throwing things at her car. And then they ran the car off the road, flipping it several times, and Mr. Hervey was killed. So, ladies and gentlemen, they're playing for keeps. They killed a man because he had the nerve to think for himself, that he didn't stay on the fiercely enforced plantation. You know, it's so bad that black people will attack other black people for daring to speak their mind, for daring to think outside the box.
They've been doing that forever. They call them Uncle Toms when they don't, toe the line. How many times have they called that one justice? What's his name?
Oh, Clarence Thomas. That poor guy.
Clarence
He gets
Thomas,
it every day.
Right. He doesn't toe the line for the left-wing commie faction, so he's an Uncle Tom. I mean, look what they do to Michelle Malkin. They call her every name in the book. I mean, whenever you don't go along, when you don't sound like Juan Williams, that's what they consider you. It used to be called that when you used to go along with the man. But now the man is in charge, you see. Now their man is in charge, so now it's different. They just change the definition whenever they see fit, like racist. What they're trying to say to people is that everyone's a bigot, but they've changed the definition of racist. So
Yeah, well, I mean, this poor man, he was driving up the road, minding his business, and cars surrounded him. One of them kept bumping into him on the passenger side, so he swerved on the last time they bumped him, and he flipped several times. He got killed, and they were calling the cops. Of course, the cops come after the incident. They didn't stop the incident. But, by the time the cops got there, Hervey was dead, and she had crawled out of the car, and she had called the cops, and Mr. Hervey had called the cops, and finally she went on to her phone, and she was saying, help, 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 my car's upside down, and before that, they're chasing us off the road, the cops aren't here, all kinds of stuff. So that they literally killed a man for speaking out. It's getting ugly out there, folks. Now's not really a good time to get rid of the guns. Why would you get rid of the guns anyhow?
Okay, yeah.
It's never a good time to get rid of the guns. They're telling you to your face they want you dead. And they're also telling you, according to this guy who likes skeet shooting, he wants you to give up your guns, but they have no intention on giving up theirs. You know what that means, right? Look at all the people in the mass graves. Those are the ones that didn't have the guns. You see the soldiers and the people standing over them with the guns? Okay, well, that's what's going to happen. You give up your gun. What do you think? They're going to give up theirs? That's stupid. If you're going to disarm everybody, don't start with yourself.
Look what they were trying to do at the same time. They were trying to use Sandy Hook and stuff like that to take away everybody's guns right before they opened the border wide up, let all these criminals in, let all these South American countries and Mexico empty their prisons and send them here, ship in and fly in Muslim radicals, calling them refugees from Syria.
And they just said, with the temporary residential status that they've been giving out, all these illegals can't have guns. So he's taking away your guns. He's allowing these invaders, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
When you have 12 million foreign nationals in your country, that's one hell of an army, and now he's going to arm them? But he's taking away your guns?
Yeah.
It's getting real out there, folks.
If that isn't one of the most evil things this guy has done, I don't know what is. And they do it right to your face, right in front of our face. Just think of what they're doing behind our backs. Can you imagine?
Oh, absolutely.
I can't even imagine.
I got two more quick stories, and we're running out of time here, so I wanted to tell you about these hackers. We've talked about this. As a matter of fact, Scott brought it up a couple of weeks ago on this show about how people can control your vehicle. And remember what happened to Hastings, and remember what happened to that celebrity. Yeah, well, these kids, these hackers, were 10 miles away on their computer, and they controlled this Jeep. They told the guy, don't panic, right? It's from the Wall Street Journal. It says, using a wireless communication system, researchers manipulate the SUV's electronics. In order to spotlight the security flaws of Internet-connected cars, 2 computer security experts hacked into a moving Jeep Cherokee. Fiat Chrysler automobiles are not just the only cars either. So here's these 2 kids sitting at their house 10 miles away, watching and controlling this Jeep. The man's hands are off the wheel, his feet are off the pedals. This Jeep is going right and left. The air conditioner is going on. They actually put him in a ditch and then pulled him out of the ditch.
Yeah, played hip-hop music on his radio even.
Yep.
I know.
So every one of these new cars have these computers in them, and they can be hacked. And then, instead, Instead of saying, man, we got to fix the security system, they're going after the two guys that pointed it out.
Of course. They're whistleblowers. That's what you do now. See, whistleblowers are now enemy number one because you're ratting out the system. You can't do that.
Right. And then our last story. On Doppler radar, now, you know, we've heard about end times and all that, and fires, floods, earthquakes, and pestilence. Pestilence is like swarms of locusts and things. Listen to this story from the Washington Post. A massive swarm of beetles and grasshoppers actually showed up on Oklahoma's radar. It hijacked the radar. They couldn't even do the Doppler because a giant swarm of giant bugs wafted over North Texas and southwest Oklahoma yesterday. And it showed up on the Frederick, Oklahoma radar. Sure enough, you know, rangers at the Copper Break State Park in Quanah, Texas, confirmed to the weather services in Norman, Oklahoma, that herds of beetles and grasshoppers were swarming overhead up to about 2,500 feet. And it was picked up on Doppler radar. That's how big this swarm of insects is. And they include beetles and locusts, grasshoppers.
That's some sort of omen, biblical omen.
Yeah, well, it showed up on radar. That's how big the swarm was. They couldn't even do the weather because it covered the Doppler. That's how big this was. Good luck, folks. It's getting ugly out there. Got any closing comments?
No, I don't. That about cuts it, Joanne.
Yeah, well, good luck, folks. Good luck, good luck, good luck. Thank you, Scott. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today, and we'd like to thank you for tuning in to Zone 13. To everybody who's listening, everybody who called in, I see you on the switchboard, and our colleagues, thank you so much. As always, a special thank you to Scott Ferrarello, my awesome co-host. Stay tuned to FreedomizerRadio.com all week, 24/7, to keep up with the latest news and information you can actually use. And we'll see you right here next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. On that note, good night, America. We love you. Zone 13 out.